Hello, welcome to Mud, Soil and Tears. My name's Kerry and this is my allotment. Today I wanted to just give you a quick tour of the allotment. This is the allotment that you'll be seeing a lot of over the next 9 months, hopefully. So this is my first allotment, this part here. We took this on about a year ago and we haven't really done an awful lot with it so far, apart from cutting down, strimming it, getting it ready, getting the beds ready, turning the beds over, trying to get rid of the weeds. We did grow some things in here last year. You can see I've got the netting over. We did grow a few things in here last year, but this year is the first year really that we've taken it seriously. So I've got about 7 beds running along the back here. They're all of different lengths and different widths, and I've got another bed just over here and another bed just over there at the back as well. So there's about 9 beds in total in this part of the allotment. So that added within the other 6 huge beds in my other allotment, which where we'll go in a minute and have a look at, gives me quite a lot of growing space just in beds alone. There's also borders running alongside this fence here that we dug in last year that I'm planning to grow potatoes in this year. We're going to grow them right along the length of the fence there. At the back over here, because I have got 3 children and they are here with me most of the time because they are homeschooled, so when we're here all together usually. So at the back there we've got I've put them a trampoline in and a swing set and a slide set for them to play in. I've got the chicken coop, which is up there just behind there. We'll go and have a look at that. I've got about 13 chickens. There's quite a lot and they like to feature in our lives heavily, so they'll be in a lot of the videos. You'll see them around. We've got a rundown rickety old shed, which is just up there at the back, which is absolutely falling to pieces. We've just had to do a roof repair on it because the last storm that we had really took the roof off it. So we've done a roof repair on it, but the decking, when you see the decking, it's really dangerous. There's just holes all over it. There's certain areas where you can stand, certain areas where you can't stand. So that's the shed at the back over there. So we don't go in there an awful lot. We tend to store just the chicken things in there and our tools and equipment. Just come over here now to show you this part and to explain the netting that I have. I have to cover absolutely all of my beds with netting because I've got chickens and they're allowed to roam free in the spring and the summer. They do like to be involved in everything. They like to get in the beds, they like to snack on all my stuff that I'm growing, and it just turns into a complete and utter nightmare. So you will notice in my videos that all of my beds will be covered over with netting, just because I just can't risk it. If I turn my back for a second, they're in there and they're eating absolutely everything. So these are the beds that I've got covered at the moment because they're still growing things in from last year. I've got some sprouts over there and I got some leeks over this side that I'm still growing that I'm trying to keep them away from at the moment. But yeah, netting is the only way forward on this allotment. So this area here is behind the beds that we were just looking at on the other side of the camera. I've got a small greenhouse here that we put in last year because of the problems that I will talk about we were having in the Polytunnel last year. I'll talk about that when I'm in the Polytunnel, but we did put this greenhouse up here to try and solve some of those problems for me. The greenhouse had a meeting with the storm as well that we had last time, so that's got no cover on it anymore, so I will buy another outer shell for that as soon as I've got seedlings to go in there and start building that back up again inside there. This area is where I keep my compost bins at the back as well. And then this area here, this building, a shell of a building here, is going to be my new composting bin area as well. So I want a pallet structure, so I want sides on it, like palleted sides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my compost up in it. So I'll start with just a couple of sides and then build the compost up, and then as I put more and more in, I'll build the sides up more and more as well. So I'm going to always be able to turn it over and dig it over inside there. So that's that part of the allotment, and we're going to take a quick look up at the chicken coop as well. So this is my chicken coop area. This is Sausage. He's my younger cockerel. He's only about 8 months old at the moment. He's very young and he's very lovely and he's very loving. So this is the coop. At the moment it's all covered up here because of the bird flu that's around. They're not actually supposed to be in contact with wild birds around, so we do have the whole chicken coop area covered up. We've got 2 sheds in here where they live. We've got about 13 chickens in total. We've got Henrietta that's at home at the moment with a broken leg, and the rest of them are here. We've got about 5 that we got as baby chicks when we first took on the allotment, and then the rest of them are all rescue chickens, ex-battery hens that we've got that are living their best life here on our allotment. They're very spoiled. They have everything they could ever want or need, and I'm sure they will be making frequent appearances in all of our videos because they do like to be around us a lot. They like to hang out with us, and they have to be involved in absolutely everything we do. Like Sausage, he thinks he's a little dog, don't you? Follows me around everywhere. He's always everywhere I am, and he's always chattering in the background, so you'll be seeing a lot of Sausage as well, I would imagine. So that's the chicken coop, and let's go over and have a look at my second allotment, the newest allotment. So this is the second part of my allotment, and it is the newest part of my allotment. So we took this on late in the autumn last year, and when we took it on, it was an absolute jungle. Now you look at it now and you think, oh, it needs a lot of work doing. It was an absolute jungle when we took it on. Nobody had been on this plot for about 2 years. So by the time we took it on at the end of summer, there was weeds as high as me. They were bigger than me, and it was right the way through the plot. So we had to spend a lot of time towards the end of last summer trying to trim it all down and chop our way through till we could reach the actual beds. So you can see from behind here that we managed to do these beds at the front before the winter set in. At that time we didn't really know much about using no dig methods or anything like that, so we just pulled it up, turned it all over. There was some huge roots in there going down about this far down into the ground. They were absolutely massive from the weeds that were in there. So we did that, and then we spent the rest of the summer just dealing with the weeds as they started coming back up again, because you can never get rid of all of them, and just trying to keep on top of the beds. So as it's got into winter, I have just popped a layer of manure over them from the community manure pile, and just covered them over really the best I can with some cardboard to try and keep everything down. This year we're not going to go full no dig on our plot, just simply because of the cost of having that much compost to go on top of our beds isn't really viable for us right now. So we're going to work with as little disturbance to the soil as possible. So that's why I've put just the manure over the top of the beds for now, to hopefully the worms can come up from underneath and they can start pulling all that into the soil for me, so I don't really need to do anything when I come to wanting to actually use these beds and plant out into them. So it's quite a big space really, this for a second plot. I've got 4 beds along this side and then 4 beds directly behind them as well, and they're really big beds as well. They're much bigger beds than the ones that are on my first plot. They're really long, so hopefully I can get some good staging going on inside them as well, different varieties that work really well together inside the beds. That's the plan for this plot. I've got a layout that I've come up with that I'm hopefully going to use to work on them, because I don't know what was last planted in these beds. I didn't have an allotment here at that time, so I'm just gonna have to do a bit of trial and error and see what works and what grows and what doesn't, and start my own rotation for the next few years after that. I managed to, at the end of last year, in this bed here to the right of me, I did get a few chard in at the back there that I've still got, that I'm still picking from now in February, which is really good. So that's this plot at the moment. So there's not much really going on here. It's all still quite overgrown, still quite weedy, and that's ready for us to try and start dealing with as it gets to spring. So now let's go and have a look in the polytunnel. This is my polytunnel area. Now it's a community allotment plot, and this is a shared full-size huge polytunnel, but it is shared with other people who have allotments here. So I have commandeered this side. This is my corner, and my side over here. This corner here where all the pallets are, this is all I had last year, and I really struggled in spring and in autumn. Something was coming in here and it was eating everything that I had in here. So I had all my seedlings down on the ground there, and something was coming in here and it was eating them every single night. So I'd have everything out and I'd come back and there'd be nothing there in the morning. So this year I have gone higher. So I've built just a pallet unit over here that I am going to keep. I've already got some seedlings going on, and I'm going to keep all my seedlings up high, because I found out when I kept things higher, whatever it was that was coming in and eating them didn't seem to be able to get to them. So I don't know why it can't climb, because I thought it might have been a mouse or something like that, but whatever it is, it doesn't seem to realise that I'm keeping things up high, which is really good. So after the spring, I kept all my tomatoes in here. So I had grow bags going all around that corner, and I had tomatoes and cucumbers. So I'll probably put them there again this year as well. Although I have got quite a few more varieties of tomatoes that I'm wanting to grow this year. So maybe I might do some grow bags, and then I might have some pots as well, some big pots, maybe coming along the middle of the polytunnel. So I can grow the tomatoes through here as well, because I have found that every year when I've tried to grow any outside of the polytunnel, it just doesn't work. I'm in northern England and it's rainy a lot of the time. We don't get as much sun as perhaps other areas of the country do. So it just doesn't work for tomatoes here really, where I am growing them outdoors. Well, it's never worked for me anyway, so I grow them in here in the polytunnel where it's nice and warm. The only trouble we did have last year is as it got to August, when all my tomatoes were getting ripe, all of a sudden we seemed to get a huge wasp infestation inside of this polytunnel, which was an absolute nightmare. So whenever we wanted to come in here, we had to open the doors for at least 10 minutes before anybody came in here, and then really it was a fact of getting in, getting what you needed and getting out. But if you know what wasps are like, they were all over my tomatoes. They were absolutely everywhere, and it was really hard. I did get stung quite a few times, but nobody really knew what to do about them. There is another door at the back of the polytunnel over here, because it's a big huge full size proper polytunnel, and there's two doors. There's a door at the front, door at the back. The door at the back doesn't open, it just backs onto a load of trees at the back, so you can't open the doors. But what had happened is a tree had grown through a crack in the top of the door, so anything that was in those trees, if there was a wasp nest in those trees, it could just come straight in here, and that's what was happening. So what we've done now is we've cut the tree down that was inside the polytunnel, because it didn't need to be in here anyway, so we've cut that down and tried to seal up around that door as much as possible to try and stop anything from the trees at the back coming in here. So hopefully that works. Hopefully we don't have to deal with the wasps this year, because there's definitely no nest inside the polytunnel. I've looked everywhere and there's absolutely no nest in here, but there was just hundreds and hundreds of wasps. It was an absolute nightmare whenever you wanted to come in here for anything. It just became the worst place to want to go ever. And we had so many beautiful tomatoes, and just nobody wanted to come and get them, because you were just risking 10 stings every time you came in and tried to take a tomato away from a wasp. So that was it was quite hard work, and it made it quite interesting coming up here. So we're trying to avoid that again this year, because I know wasps and nests, that it will be somewhere. We just can't find it. We've looked everywhere. We've been out in the trees at the back there looking for it, and we just can't find it. So if anybody's got any ideas of where the wasp nest might be hiding, then do let me know. But I think we've looked absolutely everywhere. So I've got this here now. This is my I've changed this into my sort of potting table in front of it. It's just an old table with my soil sieve on top and the bucket for sieving my soil into. So this is where I've been spending most of my time at the moment, getting the soil ready for my seedlings that are in. I got some pak choy in at the moment, just put some radish in and some broad beans in, and just over to the side as well on another little table I've got some young baby greens coming through, some mizuna, some mabuna. They were really old seeds from a couple of years ago that I thought, you know what, I'm just going to throw in and see if I can get some small micro greens for salads. So that's what I've done, and they've actually grown. I was really surprised. The only one that didn't grow was some old corn salad. So I've got some mizuna coming through, some mabuna coming through, and some red kale as well coming through at the minute, which will be amazing to use for some little microgreens to keep us going until we can get the proper lettuces going in the spring and the summer. So this is the polytunnel, and that's it for our allotment. And so we've got the 2 plots and the polytunnel that we're going to be growing in this year, and I'm super excited to get going, and I can't wait for the spring to come, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.